Hey everyone, how's it going? Welcome back to another Fallout review. Here's my breakdown of episode 2 of season 1 of Fallout. And oh man, I really, really enjoyed this episode. I really cannot wait to watch episode 3. And honestly, it's kind of frustrating to have to wait between episodes to have to do these reviews and all that, but I'm going to be sticking with it. I don't want to have to review the entire season because I think that for me personally, it just kind of ruins the excitement of watching this show. And after the second one, I am just so in on this show. Like, they really went way more in depth in terms of the characters' goals and like what they're all trying to do. They showed us a lot more of the world, and this really does feel like Fallout. This was the episode that made me like, okay, they knew what they were doing. They got this world right, like 100%. And I've seen some people complaining about the lore just overall with the world. And I will say there's a few things that don't really make a lot of sense, but I also think that it's overall kind of fine. Like, I think that, just with what they've done, it's very close to what the show is and that story and all of that. So I really don't think there's really a lot of issues here. So before we go any further, obviously make sure to be a subscriber if you do want to get all my Fallout content like this. I will be doing videos breaking down a lot of what this world is. I mean, I don't really know what kind of videos I'm going to be doing yet. I have some idea, but I do want to watch all the Fallout episodes first, and then obviously I'll do some videos breaking down and sort of explaining some of the world stuff and like what we could see in season 2. And again, I have to watch the rest of the series to sort of see where they're going here and just sort of who survives and makes it to the end or where the story's overall going to go. But so far, I'm really enjoying this here. So obviously, I should say that this will contain spoilers. I think everyone kind of knows that at this point, but this episode basically has our 3 characters. I mean, we don't really know that that's sort of where they're going, but I mean, I guess with 2 of the characters we know, but the journey here and the goal of this episode is actually to go to Philly. And I actually like the fact that they actually made it to Philly in this episode. Like, that was the whole point of this episode, was they had to go to this place. Like, they had a goal in mind. It was a mission, and they actually achieved the mission. Well, at least some characters did. And the episode starts off with we see this scientist doing a bunch of tests. We don't know who he is at this point. We actually learn his name later on in the episode, but we'll get to that. We see this dog. I mean, we see several dogs, but there's this dog right here who sort of becomes like the main dog, I guess. His actual name is like CX404, but he goes by 4. So I think that kind of works. In the very beginning moments of this episode, we see him inject himself with like this shiny blue substance. I'm not entirely sure what it was, but obviously it seems like that specifically made him very, very important to a lot of people. And I also don't know if that's a reference to anything that happens in the games. So if that is actually a reference, I apologize. I don't know, but there's something about it because obviously at the very end, when he does actually die, he says to cut off his head and bring his head specifically to Moldaver. So there's something interesting there, but obviously I think episode 3 and 4, I guess we'll probably explore that a lot more. But yeah, very interesting opening sequence here. I love that turret in the very beginning that said, "Please remain calm," and then just started shooting. It's the way a lot of these things look. It feels very authentic. It feels like we are actually in the Fallout world. Like, there's just constant moments in this series where I'm like, this really makes this world and TV show very, very special. Like, it feels like the actual like Fallout world. And I know it's very like in a lot of my reviews, I'm probably going to be mentioning this. I mean, I probably won't mention it as much by the time I get to episode 8, but I'm constantly reminded by it because it's the first time I'm watching a show about Fallout, right? Like, it's incredible to see a lot of these little details here. And I just can't wait to get into like the different types of armor and just like everything about Fallout. We do see Lucy though, and obviously she is searching for her father. And yes, I do apologize. I thought he died. I don't know why I thought he died. I watched a scene and yeah, I guess I totally missed that. But yeah, and I will say, about 10 minutes in, we basically heard just like old 40s music and stuff the entire time, which just made it feel like Fallout. I absolutely love that because when I play the game, that's basically all I do is I just have that music literally playing the entire time. So it was just kind of cool to actually get that here in this episode. And it kind of fit the story with what was going on. Like, the thing that I like about Fallout is that there's really incredible stories with a lot of different characters. And I think that's what people really like about the story is, and that's what people really like about the NPCs and stuff in the game is that there's always like this crazy story behind like every character, and it just feels like you're in this real world. And this episode had a lot of that, and I really liked that. I like the fact that they actually paid attention to detail there because that was one of my criticisms about Fallout 76. I know they've added NPCs since then, But, when they first came out with that game, there was no NPCs. And it was just like, this doesn't really feel like Fallout. Like, Fallout has a lot of history there. There's so much stories behind, like, every single person that you come across. But Lucy does find the scientist and obviously the dog, CX404, or I guess I should just call the dog 4. And the scientist warns Lucy that she should go back. This world isn't meant for vault dwellers. And, obviously she wants her dad. So she's just like, I can't really go. I want info on Moldaver. And that's basically just that. And, I think for Lucy in this episode, it's hard for her, because she is a vault dweller. And there's moments in this episode where she's trying to explain her goal and why it's important to, trust in the vault dwellers and trust in, I guess, what they're doing with the vaults, right? And it just seems so silly because obviously, like, when you don't really, that's what I really like about the world, is just all the different beliefs behind every single character, but you can just kind of sense it sometimes with her. Like, she'll be trying to say something, and even I think she believes that as well. It's just like, it kind of sounds silly to say because she's starting to see what the real world out here is actually like, and I don't think she's going to really believe in what she's saying for too much longer. But I do wonder, like, by the end of the series, how much will she change? Will she really believe in what is happening with the vaults, or will she actually be more of I guess, a surface dweller, right? Like, I do actually wonder how much she'll change. But going to the other character, our other main character, Maximus, we see him traveling. Obviously, we saw that at the end of episode 1. He went with a new group here. Their mission is to find the scientist, right? And so he's with this new group here, and it's there's a T60 soldier here that wants to drop down and just shoot something. And of course, they're just like, okay, well, I guess we have to do what he's saying because obviously he has T60 armor, and so we can't really argue with that, right? So they do that. I will say the T60 unit is absolutely incredible. Just hearing the sounds, it's making when it's walking, like how slow it is as well. It just reminds me of the games. And that's one thing that I was also thinking about the entire time is, like, I'll bring it up later on in my review as well, but like the battery life, like, that was always a thing with Fallout in general. It was like, having this armor was amazing, but if running out of battery happened so much, like it happened a lot. And it just kind of felt like in this episode, he just had like an unlimited amount, right? But yeah, I'm interested in those details. I wonder if they'll actually bring some of that up in like other episodes. But they come across this bear, a crazy bear. And like the animals, like they actually talked about that a lot. Like the insects have gotten a lot bigger. This bear got crazy massive. And yeah, they were all affected, obviously, by the nukes here. And the guy in the T60 armor, he did not want to deal with it. And he really he could not, I don't think he was right for, the suit. I don't think he earned the suit at all. Just obviously the way that he was sort of treating Maximus, it was just like, yeah, you're clearly, you're not right for this. And so obviously, I'm assuming Maximus just sort of lets him die there and takes his armor, which I just think, yeah, that was a smart decision. They actually mentioned stim packs, which I really, really liked. The guy, though, that actually had the T60 armor, he did mention how, he was so frustrated that he's constantly on these missions, from the clerics, like of the Brotherhood, to go out and just like find a toaster oven, right? Because they do want to take all the technology, like they want everything. And so sometimes you could be on a really awesome mission and then it just ends in like, okay, here's a toaster oven, and maybe you almost die and it's literally just for that, right? But we go back to Lucy, and Lucy does find somebody, and again, this is just sort of a random moment where she talks to a NPC character, but it was just kind of cool to learn more of the story. And I like the fact that, again, this episode's runtime is like 60 minutes. So I think that's what works really well about this, is the fact that it is 60 minutes. Like, you can actually tell a lot of these stories way more in depth because of that, right? You can have a scene that's like 3-4 minutes long and just focus on what this character is doing. And I think this is what The Walking Dead is actually missing right now. I think The Walking Dead needs a little bit more of this, like more just like, they're wandering wherever, and then they just come across one person, and then they hear this story about whatever, and then they just kind of keep going, right? Like, but don't spend a whole episode just on that character, just like a couple of minutes. It adds a lot to just like what's going on. But we do see Maximus actually put on the armor, and then the very iconic song "It's a Man" starts playing, and I was just like, oh, this is so much fun. This is incredible. I'm gonna re-download Fallout 4 and also Fallout 76, although I don't know if it's just me. I saw somebody else say that actually in the Discord. Like, whenever you re-download Fallout 76, you sort of expect it to be really good, and then you play it, and you're like, I kind of see why I stopped playing. Because I know I've re-downloaded it once before. I think that was like maybe 3 or 4 years ago, and it was just, some stuff did change, but I remember just kind of being like, I don't know. So I might go back to Fallout 4 potentially. Maybe I'll actually stream that on Twitch. So we'll have to wait and see. We do see Lucy arriving to a new community. And I was wondering at first, I was like, is this Philly? But yeah, it does seem like it's Philly. And it really feels like a Fallout community. Like this is a classic Fallout community. I think they did a really good job at getting all of this right. Like you could just kind of see every aspect to this community that felt like, I mean, any other community. I would say actually this kind of reminded me of Megaton, I believe, from Fallout. I don't know what Fallout was, but actually, so I just did some research. So it actually seems like this place was inspired by Megaton. So, and it said it was from Fallout 3. So that's actually, that's interesting. Lucy does go to this shop though, and she asks for Moldaver, and she's refused by this lady here. And obviously she knows who Moldaver is. And Lucy, you know, they kind of get into this interesting conversation, and she laughs at her a lot. You know, she's laughing at vault dwellers because they just think they sort of know it all, right? That's sort of the place that you're in if you're a vault dweller, going up here trying to tell everybody to sort of believe in your cause and everything's going to be okay, when they're out there in the real world all the time and vault dwellers aren't. It's just like, how do you convince them of that? And I feel like Lucy also is starting to understand that a little bit more too. She'll get these inspirational moments here and there where, you know, she's like, no, I know exactly what we're doing. But, you know, there's an interesting line at the end where the scientists seem to know who she was exactly. So I wonder if she is a control vault. Yeah, there's some interesting storylines here that are starting to come out here. So I'm interested in this. But then the Ghoul was waiting there, and I was wondering where he was, because obviously he's a main character and he's just sitting there hanging out, and he knows that the scientist is going to be here at some point. Like he's just that smart. He's that good at his job. And yeah, he's waiting there, and then we learn of the scientist's name, which is Wilzig, I guess. And one mention too, they talk about bottle caps a lot here, just referencing the fact that that's currency is amazing, because I think this is the first time that we actually heard that. So yeah, really cool. The Ghoul is just insane though, honestly, really insane. Just this whole showdown here, taking everyone out and all that, amazing, honestly, amazing action. Then Maximus shows up, which was just like a whole other level. Maximus versus the Ghoul, I think, was epic. And I mean, we kind of see why the Ghoul ended up winning anyways. I mean, Maximus just isn't that trained with the armor. You know, there's a lot more that you kind of have to get more familiar with. So that was a lot of fun. All three of our characters meet. I really like that. Like, we were introduced to them in episode 1. We sort of got their backstories on everything. And now we're seeing sort of how everything is colliding here. And it really does have to do with this scientist. And now they all have to go to Moldaver, right? And I believe the community that she's with, I mean, I have a lot of questions on that. I'm going to wait to talk about that because I don't want to spoil something. But yeah, I'm very interested in where that's going to be going here. And just in terms of, you know, people, I guess, working together, just like how the Brotherhood of Steel gets involved in some of that. I'm very curious in all of this. But yeah, also one mention, I mean, as everything's going on, obviously, Wilzig, the scientist, loses his leg. And then the shop lady was just like, all right, you need to take him and go to Moldaver. So we have Lucy, the Vault Dweller, going on this crazy mission now. And I liked when they actually put the coordinates in and we just see like the navigation and all that. That was like, literally from the games. Like you're just sort of, you're making a waypoint, and like, that's really the only way to travel in this world. Like, I mean, we've played the game so many times, like you can just go by foot if you kind of remember where you're going. But like, for me, I just always sort of had waypoints and I always just sort of follow the map. So that's just sort of how I got around all the time. But yeah, really epic scene. Yeah, she just sort of goes out there on her own. Maximus can't really chase her because he gets stuck, and then the Ghoul takes him out basically, and he just starts flying around, and then he ended up with someone else in like this random place. So that's going to be interesting to see what that is in episode 3. The Ghoul saves the dog after what he did to the dog, but I mean, at least he saved the dog now, right? So the dog seems to be his own pet now, which is kind of interesting, and I imagine that's probably going to be the case considering the fact that the scientist actually dies. Unless this dog plays a role at some point in the future of the story. We'll have to wait and see. But Lucy does take the scientist out, and they end up just in like this deserted area somewhere. And he obviously takes like this pill and says that he doesn't really have that much time left. So you're just going to have to take my head to her. Like, that's all that really matters. And for Lucy, she's just like, what? I got to take your head there? I actually have to carry a head all the way to Moldaver? And that's going to be the only way she gets in, obviously. So that is going to be what she has to do here. And yeah, that's obviously how the episode ends. Just like, okay, I got to do this now. And that was the big cliffhanger. It was just like, now what do they do, right? And again, with the episodes being very long in runtime, I think there's like 2 episodes that are around 40 something minutes. A lot of them are around 50, but later episodes I saw are like 60 again. I think it's just perfect runtime. These episodes are honestly so perfect in runtime. I'm a little disappointed that we're not getting these episodes week by week, because even for this video, I'm doing a whole breakdown just with what happened here, giving my thoughts on everything. And this is just for like one episode. And so after I'm done this is like hours of work. I have to go watch episode 3 and then hours of work again. So I'm just constantly working nonstop. It's been all day. Like, it's 9:32 right now. I don't know when this video is coming out, but it's taking a couple of hours to get these videos out. So I'm gonna try my best to get all 8 reviews and breakdowns out by like tomorrow night at least, because tomorrow's Friday. So I imagine a lot of people are waiting until Friday to sort of check everything out here. I mean, the episodes are very long, so it's sort of hard to binge all of it, but I want them done by like Friday night for sure. If some episodes end up being on Saturday, then I think that's totally fine as well, but at least for Friday for sure. So anyways, I'm gonna leave it here. Definitely post all your thoughts down below on what you thought about episode 2. Was there anything that I missed in here? And if there's anything that I missed, definitely let me know, because I'm doing a lot of my research right now and follow, and so any little new details and stuff I want to go like really in depth on, just like I do with Walking Dead videos, because I basically know the Walking Dead world so completely. I just know everything about that world, right? So I want to know everything about Fallout, and I'm gonna be replaying the game, so there's some of that I will know. But if there's little things like that I missed, definitely let me know and hold me accountable to that, because I do want to be able to like at least talk about everything in an episode, right? So yeah, I hope you guys all enjoyed the video, and I'll see you guys in my next Fallout video.